Hello, welcome. I'm Claudia if you're new here. I share very raw behind the scenes plant care and all the tips, tricks I learned along the way, as well as some occasional DIY. It is late in the evening, actually night. It's 8:30, so it is nighttime, but I really need to upsize some alocasias that are in PON. So I figured I would take this opportunity to talk everything PON to you. I've had quite several questions submitted over on my Instagram regarding PON, and I do think that it's a thing that's kind of just gaining a lot of traction over the last year or so, and I now have experience growing in PON for a little over a year and a half. So I figured I would just answer some common questions and then share what my experience has been like and any feedback or tips and tricks I might have for it. So first things first, I'll give you a little bit of background about me and my growing in PON, and then we'll get to the questions. So I accidentally started growing in PON because I received one of my very first alocasias. It was actually my second alocasia. It came in PON, and I'll insert a photo if I can. Right around the same time, I got another alocasia that was in some sort of soil mix. They were both about the same size. They were like sprouted from a corm, so they were pretty tiny, but had pretty, decent root systems. They were established and getting going, and it was so obvious how much faster and healthier the alocasia in PON was versus the one in soil. Still, I hesitated to move the one that was in soil into PON because I really didn't know anything about PON, and I really enjoy growing in an aeroid mix. Long story short, the one in soil ended up rotting, and the one in PON, I still have it alive, doing very well, thriving. It's blooming, unfortunately, but it grows consistently, and yeah, it's just obvious how much better that plant was going. Like everything, I tend to dive really head first into anything I'm into. So as soon as I got into alocasias, I quickly started collecting several, and they always come in soil. I don't like to repot plants right away, so I kept with that, and I still attempted several of them in soil. It wasn't working. Eventually, I would say, okay, I will keep them until they acclimate, then I will start transferring them to PON. And at this point, if I get a new alocasia, it is immediately starting the transfer to PON because soil is just not it. In my experience and for my environment. Let me bring over the first plant we're going to repot, and we'll get right into the questions that I think I'll be able to elaborate on why I loved PON so much and how my plants are doing in it. This is the first alocasia we are going to repot just into a bigger pot because it has outgrown it, and it's huge. Believe it or not, it was bigger. You can't even see me on the screen. It was bigger, but I have been yellowing some leaves as of recent, and then also it just bloomed for me. So yeah, it's not quite as full as it was, if you can believe it. But I know it's pretty root bound in here. It takes up water really frequently, so it urgently needs an upsize. I'm gonna be using the self-watering pot. These do come with a sticker, but you can just easily remove them, and that's what I do because I don't like to have stickers on my pots. And it is a self-watering pot. It comes with a little thing. Where did I leave it? With this thing that measures the water. I used to not like them, and then when I finally did like them, I couldn't figure them out, but now I figured them out and I love them. So the first question, what is PON? PON is made up of 4 mineral rocks, and it is an alternative substrate to grow plants. Depending on the mixture, it has 45% water retention and 55% aeration, which makes it perfect for growing plants and avoiding any kind of overwatering. And it's considered a semi-hydro growing medium. Lechuza PON is probably what you've heard most or what you might be familiar with. And that is what I usually use. However, it is very frequently sold out, which is very annoying. But I also do make my own pon and I can insert the recipe of what I do. I have a couple of plants in my own pon and they grow just as well. The lechuza pon does have slow release fertilizer in there that's supposed to be good for 6 months. The pon that I make myself does not have that. The minerals that make up pon also provide a good pH composition to like kind of self-regulate that on plants. And obviously it has really good aeration, so chances of root rot are very, very unlikely. And then also fungus gnats cannot breed in pon, so that's another plus. Oh my gosh, this is so stuck in here. I have all of my plants that are in pon in a self-watering system. Most of them are in something like this, but I also have them with a wick. This is so stuck in here. I need to get something, I think, to help release it. One sec. Butter knife it is. Okay, but the short answer is they do not need to be in a self-watering pot. You can have them just in a regular pot with drainage, and that would work as well. You just need to water more frequently, and then obviously get to know what your plant is like in pon and how frequently it actually does need water. Treat it as if you were growing in perlite sort of thing. Here we go. Oh my gosh, so many. This is like all roots. This is crazy. Do you see this? Oh my gosh, this is insane. I wonder if I should dig for corms or not right as I pick one off, or if I should just leave it. If I see any obvious ones, I will. I don't really, except for that one. Okay. In my experience, roots go insane the second I move them to pon, so it's something to be vigilant of. Also, on the, this wasn't a question, but on the topic of should you use a self-watering pot or what pot or whatever, I also don't worry as much about giving them, you know how in soil we say 2 inches larger than the root ball. In pon, I don't find it to be as big of a deal if it's a larger reservoir, because again, the pon has really, really great aeration, and the roots go crazy fast in pon. So just a little tidbit. Okay. I don't know why I'm trying to put it back in there after it took me so long to get it out. This is a really good question. Do you need to rinse the pon before you use it? Short answer is no, but you cannot, or very, very strongly should not, rinse pon over your sink, because it can and will clog your pipes. So do not do that. If you're gonna rinse, rinse outside. Having said that, I used to never rinse it like before using, but I did start doing that because I wanted to. Okay, perfect. But I started doing that because it's kind of a pain for the first watering, especially when all that sediment comes out, to have to go either give the first watering outside or whatever. So I did start rinsing it, and that kind of alleviates a lot of that initial sediment. Sediment? Did I say? It sounds funny. Am I saying that right? If you choose not to rinse, it's fine. With time, as you water your plant, it will, you know, clear out and rinse out on its own. Good segue into the next question, which is, what is flushing pon? Do you need to do it, etc.? Flushing of the pon basically means you are giving it that thorough high pressure rinse to remove all of that dust that comes in the pon. But then also you should top water and flush the pon every now and then to remove any like mineral buildup that might be going on in the medium. Speaking of rinsing PON, it is not very easy to work with when it's still wet. So I really don't like that, but I try to rinse like a big batch at a time and then just keep it in a bin. This is ready. We just need to water in a minute, but I'll probably just water them all together at the end. Or maybe I should just do that now. Yeah, let's just do that now. Something no one asked me, but I will share anyway. I don't think you're gonna be able to see this little, it's like this plant is just so big. Is that you can totally reuse PON. So if for whatever reason you're replacing whole PON on a plant, or you're getting rid of the plant, or any of this PON that like just fell out like onto the mat as I was repotting and couldn't put it back in, you can totally reuse it. If you're going to use on a different plant, I would highly suggest that you boil it just to get rid of any potential bacteria that might be there, and to avoid spreading something from one plant to another. So you can't see because this plant is massive, but the water reservoir is full, and I'm just going to remove some of these older yellowing leaves. I'll remove the bloom. Nobody wanted it anyway. I recently read, or someone recently shared with me, that that you shouldn't chop alocasia blooms because research shows that instead of speeding up the blooming process or the blooming cycle, it actually makes it longer because it didn't go through all the phases or stages it would have gone if the bloom would have just stayed on the plant. So ever since, I've been trying not to mess with them. So I left that bloom there the whole time. But it is giving me a couple new leaves, so I am excited about that. Unlike my Maharani that's just blooming nonstop. I think it has like 5 blooms in a row. It's like working on 3 right now. It's already yellowed off 2. My Jacqueline just yellowed 1 off, but it has 2 or 3 more that are coming. So yeah, that's annoying. Okay. This one might be, yeah, let's get rid of you. You're not looking so hot. Okay. Oh, it looks so bare. This was one of the biggest ones, but that's okay. It's going to look much better, or like start having more energy to grow now, hopefully. Okay. So here she is. She's beautiful. I don't know if I said this, but this is Alocasia michelitziana is the right name for the all green, and Friedic is in reference to the variegated one only. So she's all done. I'll go get the next one. Next alocasia is my green dragon scale. This has been on a journey for me, but it's finally starting to look good and I am so excited. So this one is in my DIY PON mix, so I'm gonna keep it in that. It's been doing well in it, and yeah, I don't see a reason to put Lechuza PON in it when I still have some of mine. The main reason I'm repotting this one is, as you can see, it's in one of these pots with the clear reservoir, and whenever, I love the clear reservoir because I can see when I need to refill, kind of why I like the little meter one, but when it's clear and if it's in my cabinet or getting light, I get so much algae and it's disgusting. So that's number one, but also number two, it's grown crazy roots in here. So it's ready for a slightly bigger pot as well. And I'm going to use, this is a 4.5 the one I used on my Michelizziana is a 7-inch. So this works the same with the little meter, and we are going to attempt to do the same kind of thing. Actually, let's try to make this a little bit less invasive if we can. Yes, this is formerly a ramen container. So I'll just put some in the bottom. Next question. How often to water or fill the reservoir? That is going to highly depend on your environment and how often your plant dries out. Ugh. I think I need to rinse this gross root. Just brought a container with water. I'm going to rinse it in here. So gross. Yeah, so how often you water or fill the reservoir is going to be very dependent on your environment. If you have the pots with the self-watering meter thing like these, once it's low, then that's when I water them again. And I always top water just to make sure that all the roots get an even amount of fertilizer and all of that. But you can also wait, like, again, depending on your environment, I sometimes wait like 3 to 4 days before I fill the reservoir again, and the plant is completely fine. And that's because the minerals can hold on to water and feed the plant. So yeah, that's how that works, but it'll completely be dependent on your environment, on how quickly the plant is using up the water and needs a refill. So here is this all set. I'm going to water real quick. Oh, I probably need more. And your DIY pond, I rinsed mine also because it also has that same sort of dust, which probably segues well into the next question is, do you fertilize? When do you fertilize? How often should you fertilize? And if you're using, oh, I might have done a little bit too much water in this one. If you use Lechuzapon has slow release fertilizer that they say is good for 6 to 8 months, I believe, and they recommend that you start fertilizing on month 6. If you make your own pond, you can certainly add slow release fertilizer if you like. I don't, because whether I'm using Lechuzapon or not, I'm always watering with my nutrient-rich cocktail, and I do that from the start. I don't wait the 6 months. Like, there's just no way that I could keep track. And I also find that I've had 0 issues with it, so why not? So here is this guy. He's going back into the cabinet. What a cutie. We're only gonna do one more because I didn't realize I'm out of the pot size for the 2 other alocasias that I need. So I'm going to do this Anthurium pedaliflorum. Oh my gosh, I can never say it. This is, if you recall, in my huge like plant shopping trans, I had ordered this one and it arrived decapitated. So what I ended up doing was chopped it, and this is the top cut, and also the base is finally starting to grow some leaves. They're really tiny, but they're so cute. But this has recovered well. It's growing and it's in fluval stratum and definitely needs an upsize. There are a lot of roots in there. So I'm going to use this pot. It has a wick, which isn't my favorite. And then even this tiny little window causes a lot of algae in the cabinet or when it's getting a lot of light. So I don't love it, but this is what I have, and the anthurium needs it, so we're gonna do it. Oh, and then one more question. What plants like PON? In my experience, every plant that I've tried in PON has been happy. I would say that any plant that doesn't like to go dry or doesn't like to dry out completely between waterings, or one that likes higher humidity, is going to thrive in semi-hydro, and in my opinion, PON is the best medium for that. Alocasias, without a doubt. I won't grow alocasias in any other medium, so those are definite PON lovers. I also have some philodendron in PON that are doing well, and that is my pink princess that I was having a really hard time with underwatering and then like losing a bunch of leaves. So, and that's completely taken off since being in PON. I do have a lot of my anthurium in PON, and they're all doing really well. In fact, I think I only have two anthurium not in PON. One is a Dock Block Michelle and the other one is a Clary. The Clary's doing fine. I believe it's in tree fern, but the Dock Block is in some kind of aroid mix with like cocoa husk and stuff. And I'm having trouble with the Michelle, so I may be moving it into PON or starting the transition to that soon. What else do I have in PON? I have some Hoya in PON. The only thing I do different for Hoya that are in PON is I will water or like refill the reservoir, not when it's empty, but I will go more off the leaf firmness. I don't wait until they're like soft and bendy taco test, but I will wait until they start to soften and aren't as stiff. That is the only difference I do for those personally. Look at these crazy roots. Oh my God. Fluval is kind of a pain to get rid of, by the way. And I do like to get rid of all of the fluval stratum because it just gets very like muddy and hard as it breaks down, and I just don't think that that's good for the roots or the plants. So those were all the common questions I get. I mean, another like couple reasons I really like PON, in addition to seeing how well my plants love it and grow in it, is that I am a chronic underwaterer, and with PON I don't have to worry about that. I strongly believe that if I was trying to grow alocasias in a different medium, or even anthuriums, or for example even my pink princess, like there's no way that I could do it. I'm too much of an underwaterer, and PON just kind of completely removes that variable because it's a semi-hydro. I have them all in a self-watering system, and I just broke off the new leaf. I have another Pelletoflorum, and I've done the same thing when I repotted it. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, PON just kind of eliminates that underwatering factor for me, and it makes maintenance also easier. It's different to have to kind of refill the reservoir once a weekish versus other plants that are just hit and miss depending on environment and things like that. So yeah, I just find that plants that are in PON are like really low maintenance and just a breeze and do really well. So I mean I can. This is not the first time I do this. Why am I like this? Okay. So here it is, and the new leaf that was coming will no longer, but hopefully shoots out another one really soon. All right, this is gonna be it. Thank you so much for coming to my PON talk. I hope that you found this helpful and or informative. I'd love to hear from you if you grow in PON. What are some of your tips, some of the things that you do that you've noticed you like, or do you not like it at all? I'd love to hear. Thank you again so much, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.